Welcome to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection, the City of Crawfordsville's weekly podcast that comes out every Monday morning. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and I'm joined in the studio every week with Mayor Todd Barton to keep our community up to date on current events, city workings, and to hear from community members on a variety of topics. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Welcome back to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and today I'm joined in the studio by Mayor Todd Barton.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. And with us, we have Brandy Allen. Hello.
Hello.
It's got to be a general update.
It's time for the general update.
Yes.
February is here.
It is. It's kind of crazy.
It is.
January felt like it flew by.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
not for me.
It did for me.
Maybe for you, but it seemed like it's been dragging on. I thought the other day, Christmas was only a month ago. It seems like it was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
January kind
weather.
of drags on.
Yeah, it's busy, and February's only going to get busier for you.
Yes, it's starting to look a little
Some
busy.
travel.
Yeah, the
some
schedule's starting
meetings,
to
and
yeah, but it's been good. You know, we've gotten a lot done in January. So
yeah. It's looking up for a great year.
we hope. We're telling
Yes,
ourselves that.
Yes. And we don't have any announcements because we'll cover everything right here in this general update.
Yeah, nothing, no holidays that we need to worry about,
Yeah.
or we've not set the forum for February yet, but we'll figure that out pretty soon.
Perfect. Well, we'll just start right off with winter weather. Obviously, that has been a hot topic in the community.
A cold topic.
Yeah, I guess a cold topic. Not very hot around here.
Yeah. Yeah, I put that on there. I get questions like, how are those decisions made? And, I know it's confusing for people sometimes. And so I guess on the city side, the decision we have to make sometimes, there's a couple of decisions we have to make. One is, will city offices be open or closed? And that's a complicated decision sometimes. I mean, you wouldn't think it is, but we're going to try to be open as much as possible, right? The other factor we have in there is trash collection. So it's not just a matter of saying, where employees are going to come to the offices, but also will we do city trash collection?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that decision kind of gets misunderstood sometimes as well. And it's tough. Like, if we get behind on trash collection, it becomes a real challenge. And we've been there before, we know. And for example, this last week, we had to make a decision. We kept trash collection on schedule. And it was really cold, sub-zero.
Right.
But the reason we do that is because if we keep it on schedule, we can run a double crew with one truck.
Mm-hmm.
So we can have another, like a pickup behind the trash truck with two people. They can rotate out and switch so that they're not out for hours in the cold. If we get behind and we have to run double routes, now we're running two trucks.
Right.
We have to go back to a single crew.
Yeah.
And so then you can't rotate people, and then they're out there for hours. So on the surface, it sounds like, oh, they should just push it back a day. Well, then it just compounds the problem and actually makes it worse for us. So we have to think about all those things. And then the travel advisories, that's where it gets a little confusing, and it got very confusing this last week, probably for people. So what happens there, if you turn on the news, you see, that the county it's yellow or it's orange or red, whatever it may be, and what those levels mean. And the county commissioners make that decision, and they always consult. I always get a message from them, hey, we're thinking about this or whatever. We try our best to stay aligned, so it's the same everywhere in our county. But the city can certainly be different, and the conditions can be very different, and that happened this last week. So the county needed to stay at orange, and the city went ahead and went to yellow. And I know that's confusing for people, but conditions are very different sometimes in town versus out in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And this last week was an example. Like in the city, we were fine. Snow removal was done, and there were slick areas. But other than that, it was good. But out in the country, you had blowing and drifting snow that was really causing a problem. So we try not to be different, but sometimes on rare occasions we are. And this last week was one of those occasions.
Yeah. And I think something to note is, pay attention to that main site that's got all the counties listed, and you can see what color.
Right.
But when the city switched from orange to yellow, we did post that on our social media to make that indication, because there's not a way to piece out Crawfordsville on that county map.
Yeah, Indiana Department of Homeland Security is grappling with that issue right now, because we're not the only area where that happens. You think about where you have larger cities and you have counties around them, it can be very different.
Yeah.
And so there's not a good way to distinguish that. So they're trying to think about that and figure out a way to do so. But those conditions can be very different. And so sometimes you'll see some differences there.
Yep.
Yep.
And 2026 State of the City.
Scheduled
Yes.
February 19th at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
We're going to do the format we've been doing for years. We're going to be recording it, and it'll come out on the radio, I assume, that night.
Yes.
And the podcast at the same time, and you can listen live then. Well, not live, it'll be recorded. You can listen then, or you can listen on the podcast format at your leisure.
And that will come with the state of the county as well. So
Yes.
we'll release both at the same time.
Do we know who's doing that this year?
Dan Gard.
Commissioner Dan Gard.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. So we will do that. And so when we release it on the podcast, it will also go out on social media at 7 p.m. on the 19th. And then I'm not sure who the radio stations will air first, but it will be either the state of the city or the state of the county. And so at 7 p.m., if you tune in, that's what you'll be hearing rather than music that night.
Yeah.
So those are always great. It's an opportunity for us to dive a little bit deeper, similar to our general updates and our 2025 year-end wrap-up. It's a similar type of format where we go over all the things that have happened, but we also talk about what's to come and how all these pieces play together. You know, a lot of times in our updates, we just kind of give a quick update, but we don't always talk about how all of these
come together.
Yeah. And that, you know, the state of the city really gives us the opportunity to culminate all those things and put it together and tell the full story and paint a picture about our community.
And it is all tied together. I mean, we talk about things in segments, but it all comes back and it all tied together, and it's all part of the big picture, if you will, of what's happening in this community. So thank you for your help with it.
Yes.
I know you're working feverishly, and we'll bounce it back and forth, but I've told everybody for years, preparing State of the City it's a lot more challenging than what people think.
It is. It's a lot of information, and I think it's trying to make sure, you know, for me as I'm looking through it, of how do we capture all those pieces? How do they connect versus, you know, where are the differences? How do we not leave something out? Inevitably we will. You know, that
was always the battle. Like, you know, people are like, oh, it's so long. And then you try to cut things out and people are like, well, you skipped this or you missed that. And so it's tough.
Yeah, it's hard.
There's a lot to tell.
There is. And I think it's a great opportunity for people to, you know, get that peek behind the curtain of the why. You know, a lot of times we just talk about the projects kind of large scale of the progress and what's happening, but this kind of gives some more of the why behind those projects.
Like today, we're going to talk about sewer projects and things like that. Well, why are we doing that?
Yeah.
Well, it's all tied together. Yeah. You know, it's the economic growth, it's the job growth, it's the housing that follows, all those things.
Yeah, it's everything tied together. Yep. So stay tuned for that. It's you know, it's a lot, but it's important for our community.
Absolutely. We take it very seriously. We don't, it's not something we just say, I'll just throw some stuff out there and go on. And it's interesting. I've looked around the state. We do ours, you know, February typically. It's been a little earlier, some years a little later, but I noticed some cities do theirs in the summer. That seems odd to me, but hey, if it works for them, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if there's pros and cons there, but I do know some cities do it in summer. We did look at going back to a live event, but there was really no response. We threw it out there, so we're going to keep doing what we've been doing. Yeah,
so if you listen this year and you decide that you would have preferred to be in person, let us know for next year, and we'll see what options are.
Kind of toying with the idea of the video format too. I mean, we have this studio at Fusion 54. I don't know. It's something maybe in the future we'll look at.
Yep. It could be a good opportunity to partner with the students too and allow them to run a live coverage.
Yeah, and I know some cities will do a video format and then they can work in some visuals. So if I'm talking about Purple Heart Parkway Extension, you could see a visual of what a map where that goes, what it does. That'd be kind of cool, but
we'll save that for next year.
It'd be a lot more involved. She's looking at me like, no,
not this year, not this year.
Not going to do it this year.
All right. Well, our legislative session. Let's talk about some of those updates.
Yeah, it's ticking along. I'm hesitant to give any specific updates on anything because it literally changes. I say by the day, sometimes multiple times a day. So obviously we're watching a lot of things very closely. Anything to do with Senate Enrolled Act 1 from last year, the tax structure. There's a lot of talk this year about the local income tax structure as it passed in SEA 1 last year. Crawfordsville and most cities will see a sharp reduction in funding there. not a reduction to the increase, not a decrease to the increase, but a decrease, right? So we're working through that. We're hopeful that it's going to be stabilized. I mean, that's all we're asking for. Just keep it stable so we can provide the things that we have to provide in our community. So we're watching those kind of issues. There's also some very interesting things this year related to property rights and zoning and stuff like that, which on the surface it's billed as promoting more housing in the state of Indiana. Well, hey, that sounds great, right? But then when you dive in, it repeals like the ability to regulate things. So yeah, if you're a developer, that might sound like a really good idea, but if it's going in at the property next to you, it's probably not going to be such a good idea. So I think communities are really on edge about some of that. Like you literally could see subdivisions in cities with gravel roads and all kinds of bizarre things. So these things are always painted one color on the surface, and then when you peel back the layers, you start to find all kinds of nefarious things in there. It's disturbing what I see out of the legislature. There's so many special interests that are trying to do things, but so we're watching all those things. I participate AIM, which is our Association of Cities in Indiana. I'm on their legislative committee, so every Friday afternoon we have a lengthy Zoom call to go through all the legislative things. It's probably the most depressing way to end your Friday. I'm like, oh, I dread this every Friday because it's hard to wrap your head around why these groups are over there trying to do the things that they're going to do, that they want to do, that are in the end going to harm communities in the state of Indiana. It's baffling to me. So anyway, all that being said, we are very attentive to it. We are watching. I will be spending some time over there as well. And I will say, if you follow the news, Crawfordsville was kind of highlighted a little bit statewide because some of the things that happened at the last legislative breakfast. The community showed up and the community voiced their opinion. I voiced my opinion, and that got some attention. And so I will say, I've heard a little bit more from the legislators since then, at least one of them. Senator Buchanan has been really in touch since then. And we're going to keep that pressure up because ultimately they have to represent us back home, not a lobby, not a caucus, us back home. So stay tuned for all that.
Yes.
Yep.
And 2 episodes ago, episode 270, we talked all about the Unified Development Ordinance, and that has passed the Plan Commission, and it will be moving on to City Council.
Yeah, it goes to committee on February 2nd, and then it moved through the committee, then it'll go to the full council the next week. Yeah. So there's a lot there. It's pretty...
Yeah, listen to that episode
pretty
if
meaty.
you missed it.
Yeah. Go back and listen to the episode, and it answers, I think, all the questions that people have. And how you can access it and look at it and everything on your own. But it will really simplify, I hope, the process for everyone in this community, whether it's outside developers coming in or it's residents, property owners here. It should clean it all up.
Okay.
I think it's important to note, too, the last zoning ordinance was adopted in 2009, so it's pretty dated. But at the time that we received that document, we weren't able to easily go in and correct things if needed. And the whole intention with this UDO draft is that it should make it easier that as we see things that need changed or edited, we should be able to kind of look at it annually and make updates and just make it more efficient. There will be things in a new ordinance that we realize, oh, that's not working out like we thought it would. So it may need addressed. This is really intended to be more of a document that we address more frequently than every 16, 17 years.
It's every couple of decades.
Yeah.
Because it was so challenging to clean it up and fix
Correct,
it, right? Yeah. I totally envision an annual package that goes to the Plan Commission and the City Council. Here are some adjustments that we feel need to be considered, and we can stay on top of it because a lot changes.
Right.
The world changes, our community changes, and we face challenges that we didn't face 20 years ago.
Yeah. An example you gave in that episode was the 5G towers.
Oh, that was absolutely. Yeah. And we were scrambling to try to figure that out. And then, of course, what happened? The legislature came around and figured it out for us and said, you can't figure this out. We're going to do it for you. But
sounds like they might already be changing some things in our new ordinance too then.
Yeah, there's stuff. Yeah, there's stuff that's in this that if some of this legislation passes, and I don't think it'll pass as it is, but if it passes, it'll change that. So we have to be able to adjust this I'll say on the fly. I mean, it's not it
It's
still
not
has to go
easy.
through all the
Right.
steps, right? And it still gets the public input, and everybody has to sign off on it. But at least we can do it maybe annually.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And our feral and stray cat issue. What is the update?
Yeah, so that was kind of a hot topic, and then it wasn't. And we really have been working behind the scenes on this for months, and I think we're pretty close at this point. I know we're pretty close. Um, we're folding this into our agreement with the Animal Welfare League, AWL. So they will lead the efforts there with basically kind of a trap, neuter, release type program. Everyone agrees that if we really put some resources in this and really concentrate on this for a few years, we could kind of get ahead of this issue in our city. So we're in the final stages of that. I think we're pretty close to having that agreement in place. They had a couple more questions, and we're trying to set a meeting date to kind of answer those. So we should be pretty close. So that being said, then we'll have it in place, and we can hopefully start to see some things happen when the weather breaks. They don't do those kind of things in bad weather, but we know it's an ongoing issue in our community, and there's not an easy answer there. And there are a lot of opinions, and a lot of people read all kinds of things on the internet. You can find research that takes you one way or the other. But we think we found a good solution. And is it ideal? Probably not. And it will take some time for it to work, but we're moving in the right direction.
Okay. And Shorts Nature Park, initial planning is underway.
It is. Yeah. We have the design team working, engaging Mr. Shorts in the discussion. And again, we're kind of taking our time with this. We're not in a big rush. And as I said before, considering everything we have going on and the financial considerations, this is probably not a case where we're just going to go build everything out in one season.
Right.
It'll probably have to happen in stages, but it's in the works. And again, that's on the south side at 3247, roughly that area.
Okay. And our wayfinding project, do we have an update?
We do. Things have been delayed a little bit in getting that wrapped up just due to some of the weather conditions. I think the last time we discussed this, we thought we were going to have signs on the way, which were the previous phase, just some signs that had come in the wrong form, like it was the wrong type of sign for what needed to be installed. So those were supposed to have been shipped. They did not due to anticipated weather, and obviously the weather hasn't gotten any better. So once this all breaks and everyone's kind of gotten through it, they will freight those signs to us. And then obviously the weather has to break a little for those to be installed as well. We have made progress on our trail signs, though. Those have all been completely approved. All the signs are good to go, and those are in engineering for production. So those should also come pretty soon. And that phase of the project I shouldn't even say this out loud, so I'll try to find some wood to knock on, but that should go smoother because that's all along the trail where we really don't have to deal with right-of-way issues. In most cases, we aren't dealing with utilities. So that should be pretty painless, but we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
The project that goes on.
Yes.
Hopefully that's a 2026 check mark.
Yes. So. They've had us staying tuned for quite some time.
That's right.
We've been waiting.
I mean, there's hope. Ben Hur's not on the list anymore.
I know.
Right.
I know.
There's hope.
There's hope. And our high school lift station is operating.
Yes, that's all operational. Construction for the most part is finished. There are a few loose ends, some fencing and things like that. But for the most part, the system is working. And I can't remember the exact date of the decommissioning of the old lift station, but it was soon if it hasn't.
It already has happened, I believe. Yeah.
So,
and that greatly improves our capacity on the south side. I mean, we call it high school lift station. It's about much more than the high school.
Yes.
They just had put that original one in when the new high school was, I say new, decades ago, when the high school was built there. And it was intended to supply the school, but then everything else kept getting added. So this improves our capacity. Long term, though, the challenge, so that pumping station is good. We have great capacity in our treatment facility. The weak link is getting the waste from that pumping station to the treatment facility. And we have some restrictions there. So that's something we're going to have to look at through the utility in coming years, is some system issues and how we get things from these lift stations, these pump stations to the actual treatment facility. There's some older lines and lines that just probably aren't big enough.
Okay. And speaking of the wastewater plant, we've been talking about the digester lid project.
Yeah, we're still waiting to hear. So we've applied for grant funding from the Office of Community and Rural Affairs. We think we will hear this month on that. And then if we're awarded, we'll move forward with that project. But that will replace the lids on those digesters, which is where the anaerobic digestion occurs, hence the name. But if those lids are not working properly, obviously we can have an odor problem.
Right.
And we've had that. We've been battling that in the kind of the west end of the city for a number of years. This will fix that.
Okay.
But it's not inexpensive or cheap to
Right.
fix. So that's why we're applying for the grant funding.
And it's not a fun project to want to spend the money on, but it's necessary.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you have to talk about infrastructure. You have to talk about these kind of things. And I hate to say it's out of sight, out of mind, but for most of the city, it is kind of out of sight,
Right.
out of mind, unless you live close by. It's like the erosion issue.
Right.
Most of the cities, like, we don't even know what you're talking about. But if you live in one of those neighborhoods, it's a really big deal.
Absolutely. And our street department has some old facilities that we are working through a plan to.
Yeah. Speaking of infrastructure, so, when we look at our city facilities, I mean, we've done, I think, a really good job. We have some issues to address in coming years, but I always tell everybody the street department's facilities are the worst by far. There's no
Right.
doubt about it. So if you know where they're located on Vermont Street, where their offices are at, their garage, that kind of stuff, that was actually a state highway building. I don't remember the exact year it was built, but it is structurally becoming unsound. There's a basement under it. It's become an issue. And so we have to do something there. We've looked at all kinds of options, tear that down, build a new building there. We're kind of weighing different things right now. I think we've got a solution in mind if we move forward with it that will work out well, keep them in the same location, get them in better facilities, and not be super expensive. So we're trying to find something that really works. They're very realistic about what they need. They don't want something big and fancy, but they want it to be functional and
Right.
safe
Right.
and effective. So we're working on that there with Vermont Street. And then they have a facility out at the old Yardway site where they store a lot of equipment. It's basically a pole barn that is in really bad shape. We have to get that replaced sometime in the near future. So we're working through a plan for that as well.
Okay. Our Skank Road project is underway.
It is underway. Finally, it was underway.
It was underway until it started snowing.
Yes.
Yeah, but there is a little bit of action happening out there. So there's still some utility relocation, but they are able to get started on a little bit of that. So again, you'll be able to continue to see work happening there. And I keep forgetting that we've been talking about this for years, but many people may not. If you're a new podcast listener, you may not know exactly what that project is. So just as a reminder, that is, we're basically connecting Skank Road, extending Skank Road and connecting to State Road 32. And in the meantime, eliminating a very dangerous intersection that was kind of down in that bowl at is that Big Four Arch?
Yeah, 50 South, Big Four Arch Road, Skank Road.
And Skank Road. So it'll realign the road and then connect it out to 32 so that we have another north-south corridor there on that side of town. Avoid people traveling through the parking lot at Lakeside as well. And then opening that area up for additional development or whatever that may be. So if you're curious about that project, it is starting to move a little bit.
Awesome.
I've seen people like, oh, what's going on? Like all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
my gosh, people, we've talked about this for
For a long
5 years now, 4 years. I don't know. Yeah, it's
But that's kind of what we mean when we say when we use funding from other sources, we're on
Yeah.
their time frame.
Right.
So it has been talked about for so long because we can't move along any quicker.
Yeah, that is what we call an LPA project. So it's federal funding that comes through NDOT that then comes to the local level. So we contribute to match. NDOT manages the project. So there's a timeline that you follow,
And it's not ours.
It's not ours. And we compare it to Purple Heart, where we did it with local funding. We were nimble. We could move pretty
Yeah.
quickly. But when you use the federal funding, there is a lot of steps you have to follow, and it just takes a long time.
Yes. Well, speaking of federal funding, our Market Street Railroad crossing, we have been awarded Federal Railroad Administration grant for planning for that project.
Yes, and that project has really picked up. There's a lot of work happening behind the scenes. It's not anything that anyone is going to notice yet, although there have been surveyors out in the area, so you might have noticed some survey work happening along Market Street in that area. But A lot of meetings happening with utilities and beginning early coordination. We'll be meeting with NDOT and the rail soon to discuss the project. And there actually will be a few meetings that the public can attend. And those are all being planned and the timelines being laid out right now. So we'll make sure to let everybody know during that process as well that there will be a public input process and some public updates and things like that will come along. We'll have I think it's just going to be a page on our website that will begin to update people on the process.
Yeah, it'll be a separate page just on this project.
Yeah, that's being worked on right now. So a lot of work happening. You're not going to see it yet, but it's still very high on the priority list, and we're working through it.
And this identifies the solution, which we all kind of assume we know what that is, and does all the planning to get ready to apply for the actual construction dollars.
Right.
So it's interesting, we talk about the public input sessions, and the consultants are like, oh, we'll have these. Well, we had those sessions when we applied for the grant, and we told them people will show up, and people have very strong opinions about this, and they were all kind of blown away. People in Crawfordsville have strong opinions about that issue, so they will be there, and they will give you their opinion and tell you how it affects their lives, because it does.
Right.
It's a serious issue in our community that we're finally on the path to coming to terms with.
Yes.
It's a long path.
It is.
Multi-year path, but we're at least on our way, I think.
Okay. Market Street drainage issues.
Yeah, so kind of tied to that, right in that same area. We've talked about this before. The water that stands right there before the railroad crossing, between Water Street and the railroad crossing, and the permanent high water sign that seems to be planted there. So that issue has gone on for a while. There's a collapsed storm drain underneath Market Street that would carry that water to the north and get rid of it. In the summer, it's been compounded sometimes because we had a business that their air conditioning unit was discharging all this water down there, so that made that worse. Even when it wasn't raining, we had water. Obviously, that's gone away in the winter. We think it's been permanently fixed. We'll see next summer. But we still have the collapsed drain. So just an update there. We have met with NDOT at their request. We're all kind of trying to work together to find a solution. I think the city and NDOT are kind of on the same page about how we address this. Tricky part is we're going to need some buy-in from CSX because it's in there right away too. So we're working on coordinating all that. We want to get it fixed, but we're not going to go too overboard with this with something elaborate, because if this funding comes, if we do the planning, and it's all going to change, right? So we're working through it. I don't know a definitive answer or timeline yet, but we have everybody at the table thus far except the railroad, and we're working on them.
Okay. Broadway Street and Senator Lane are on for reconstruction.
On Broadway and Senator Lane, those are two streets that we've been looking at addressing for a long time. On Broadway Street, we needed to do a little bit of drainage work before we could repair it, and that was completed last year in preparation of getting that street addressed. And then Senator Lane is another street. It's a street that has been failing for a while. This one's different because it's not asphalt; it's actually concrete, so it's a little bit different process to get that repaired. So we have applied for funds to move forward on those, and I think we're in the final stages of getting that all aligned. We have bid those projects, and we should be able to move forward on those pretty soon.
Awesome.
Yeah. And if you're wondering where those at, Broadway is in Athens Addition, and Senator is in South Meadows, which is Ladoga Road and 150 South, that area.
Okay. And our sidewalk program, we are looking at getting that rolling.
Yeah, we've talked about this for years, and I think we're in the home stretch now. The wheel tax and surtax, we did an episode on that, is in place now. So we have not received our first payment. We'll get a monthly payment as people are renewing their license plates. Just did mine the other day, so it was on there. I didn't grumble when I paid it. And so a portion of that money we're going to use for the sidewalk program. So we have estimates of what we think that revenue is going to be, but until it starts to come in, then we'll have a clearer picture. So yeah, this summer we should be seeing some sidewalks get replaced.
Awesome.
And again, what we're doing there is increasing the participation from the city with match money to the property owners to incentivize even more, even in a better way, I guess, increase that incentive for them to replace their sidewalks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there will be a page on our website with all of the information.
Yeah.
The steps on the process, how to apply, and a form to submit your interest.
Yeah, we've tried to move this forward for a long time, and it's been tough. Hopefully, we're there. I don't, we look at other cities. Some cities have very successful programs, and here we have just struggled to get it off the
Yeah.
ground. And interestingly enough, like property owner participation in those other cities is dramatically higher in
Mhm.
Crawfordsville. I just say a lot of property owners are just like, no, we're not interested. We're not
Yeah.
going to do it. Now they're the first to complain about their neighbor's sidewalk.
Right.
So I don't know. We're trying to find a way to move the needle, and I'm optimistic that maybe this will get us there.
Yes. And our downtown sidewalks, we've talked about this for a few episodes now, that
Yeah.
there are some subterranean issues.
Yeah. So we're doing. The city engineer has assessed these and is putting together a report right now, so we can create a plan, primarily on Washington Street and on Market Street, and a few on Main. There's places where there's just large voids underneath the sidewalks. There were subterranean storefronts in some cases. Some of those are still there. And then there were coal chutes and all those kind of things. So we have to understand where those are at. They're not everywhere, but they are in some places. I'll give you an example in front of Vanity Theater. That is all void under there. So we have to be careful in that area. So we're trying to understand that so we can get that fixed. That is something that we've kicked that can down the road as a community for decades now.
Right.
I mean, this goes back 20 plus years ago. The city had an Oak grant to replace sidewalks in the downtown, had to give it back because you couldn't just come in and replace the sidewalks. You had to deal with these voids, which was going to be much, much more expensive. So I know it sounds simple, like, well, just fill in the void, but you have to understand how that affects the building next to it. So if you fill that in and you put pressure on it, does that undermine the building next to it and stuff like that? So city engineers working on that report, and then we'll try to create a plan to move forward. This also involves NDOT because a lot of those are in the NDOT right away. Obviously, Market Street, Washington Street, that all involves NDOT as well. So complicated, sounds simple, but kind of complicated. But we'll have some clearer ideas how we move forward in the coming months.
Okay. And some surveying downtown, Indiana American Water Company is planning some water main replacements.
Yeah, we got a lot of questions. Actually, we had questions. We're looking out the window of City Hall like, what are these surveyors doing? There's surveyors everywhere.
Yeah.
So as Brandy mentioned earlier, there were some surveyors working down around Market Street and the railroad. Those are as part of that planning process for the FRA grant, right? But also there's been surveyors all over, especially the eastern side of the downtown. You see survey crews everywhere. So what we found out is they were hired by Indiana American Water. They're planning some water main replacements in that area, maybe this summer and some the following summer. We have a meeting with them in another week or so to kind of walk through what they're planning to do there, because obviously we want to coordinate that with our paving schedules and sidewalk replacements and stuff like that. What we don't want to have happen is we come in, pave a street, replace the sidewalk, and then here they come and tear it up. And that's happened. It just happened again. We're trying to avoid those kind of things. Yeah. So
get ahead of it.
But that's what all the surveying was about. We received quite a few questions about that.
Okay. And our Southside Development fiscal plan for infrastructure.
Yeah. So there's layers to this. I'm going to start very high level. And so all these things are happening on the south side with new housing coming, single family, multifamily. You have to get the water, the sewer, complete the roads, all those kind of things. So we have created what we call a tax increment financing district out there, or TIF. And what that does is captures the future increment, I guess. So, it's taxed one way as a farm field right now, and then you put a bunch of houses or businesses, things out there, you have much more tax revenue coming in. You use that tax revenue to pay a bond that's going to finish the rest of that infrastructure. So that's the overall highly simplified version of what's happening out there. Then we can talk about the specific projects that follow.
Yes. There's some Purple Heart single family housing proposed.
So basically everything between 150 and Purple Heart. The whole, I don't know how to describe this, the whole eastern part of that, I guess, single family is being proposed there.
Yeah, and market rate apartments are also being proposed.
Yes, and those went through a rezone a while back, and that would be in that area as well. So that would be market rate apartments. The numbers vary depending on how the project shakes out. So, yeah.
And then with that, we've got this Elm Street connector road, water, sewer. It's all coming together to create the infrastructure for that growth.
Yeah, and you may have seen, or the Board of Works opened bids on all these different projects, and we had to get those. I mean, we have construction estimates, we have engineering estimates, but until you actually bid it, and the bids came in less than all those estimates,
That's
so that
what
was
we
good.
like.
Yeah, that's unusual. So now we've awarded some of those, and some of those we're getting ready to award. But a lot of work has to happen there. We have to take water all the way across Purple Heart from basically 231 over to Ladoga Road, and think about Kroger, think about all those things, and then all the housing. So we have to get the water in. And I know I've said this before, people may be asking, well, I thought we had private water. Why is the city doing that? Unfortunately, that's the way it works. The city has to put it in, and then we recoup the cost once customers come online. So the private utility doesn't put that kind of infrastructure in. So we have to get water in there. We have to get sewer across for all that housing as well. And then the connector road or Elm Street extension, which is not taking Elm Street directly south. I want to make that clear. That confuses people. It's offset. So it would be down there a little bit further to the east.
Okay.
Yep.
And also out there, we are looking to do a trail connection from Purple Heart Parkway to 150 South. We've got, the trail along it, and then, looking at how do we connect that.
There's an old rail bed there.
Yeah.
Property owners have been donating their pieces for that. So we're just kind of getting that all lined up. It's not something we're going to do in 26. I don't know if we'll do it in 27, but at some point we'll put a trail there to connect that Purple Heart Trail and all that housing out there into Milligan Park and the golf course and the pool and all those things. Yeah.
And Kroger, like you mentioned, it's coming. We broke ground, and
you did not.
Well,
you were
did
not there.
I was in much warmer weather.
We were out there freezing, and you were someplace warm.
Yes.
You planned that out.
Unintentionally.
Yeah.
I think IU planned that out.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we broke ground. So full disclosure, we broke fake ground. The ground was frozen solid.
Too
so
frozen.
We had like piles of sand we moved. So
not a huge crowd for that ground.
Not a big crowd. It was 10 minutes tops.
Yeah.
And we were still numb. So, but it's moving forward. They're gonna be doing their dirt work now. The snow's probably slowed everything down, but they have a very aggressive timeline. They want to get that store up and running. Their goal is by January
of 27.
27. That's their stated goal. I know they really would like to get ahead of that. So
that's awesome.
They build these stores in stages, if you will, and they're doing one in, he told us, Noblesville and Zionsville and Crawfordsville. It's the Ville theme.
Yeah.
And so like we're evenly spaced. Those two are already under construction. So a crew that does certain things can finish one and then they go to the next one, then they go to the next one. And that's the way they work that. So we're in the pipeline. It started here. It's going to be exciting. And there will be other things come with them.
Yes.
There will be other businesses around them. We don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but they're moving through it.
Yeah. And as a reminder, this is a Kroger Marketplace, which is their largest store footprint.
It is. This is a very large store.
123,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And they estimate it to be the size of 2.5 football fields.
That's a lot of groceries.
It is. Grocery, apparel.
Yeah.
Sushi, we've heard. Sushi, cheeses.
Yeah.
Starbucks.
Somebody pointed out, I think my daughter pointed out that people were upset on Facebook that the mayor was bringing sushi. Trust me, I'm not a sushi fan.
Yeah.
So
it's not you.
It's not me. They're going to bring what they think will sell in our community, and they think there's a demand. So
and they will also be having a new fuel center there as well.
Yes.
Okay. And like you mentioned, with Kroger going there, that will bring other retail activity to the south side, but there's also activity to the east.
There is. We're seeing quite a bit of activity, interest level activity out there. And as I've said many times, fixing Shelley Drain helps that.
Yeah.
Because people, I mean, if you're investing, you can see that drainage is not as big an issue as it was. It's hard to convince a developer to invest millions of dollars thinking that they're going to have drainage issues. They just are not going to do it. So taking that out of the equation has been good. And I know we hear a lot about the east side. I understand you want retail. There's some things coming. Now, is there going to be a grocery store, a great big grocery store on the east side? I don't see it. I hope so. If it happens, that'd be wonderful. But that's not something we've seen an interest in from developers and grocers at this point.
Yeah. And as a reminder, the city does not make that decision.
Yeah, some guy sent me a message the other day. This quote, this town has got to stop building on the south side and build on the east side.
Yeah.
This town doesn't build grocery stores.
We're not building grocery stores.
we try to create the environment and entice them and do everything we can,
Right.
which we've done. You know, again, it's about much more than just the shoppers in Crawfordsville. They're a regional draw, and they have to position themselves where people from around the region can get to them easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Starbucks is under construction on the north side of town between Marathon and the Holiday Inn Express.
Yeah. We've talked about that many times, but it's on our frequently asked questions. I think the Seven Brew question was probably the most popular question out
Everybody
there.
wanted to know about Seven Brew. Those high schoolers.
I know. Yeah. Maybe we got them to listen. So,
yes.
So Starbucks has been under construction out there. I think they've hit a lull with the weather, and then they're working through getting access to utilities. They need natural gas and water and some of that stuff, but it's underway.
Yes. And Wawa, a convenience store, gas station. Apparently, they're known for their food and all sorts of things. They are in the approval process.
They are. We've talked about this several times. They've been working on that project for quite a while. So this is at 32 East and 47 North. They are in final stages with some of their permitting. It's complicated there because of the highway access, and that intersection is problematic, challenging. I mean, even from NDOT's perspective, it's challenging because there's a drainage piece underneath there. So they've been working through, like, do we allow left turns in? Do we only allow right in, right out? All those kinds of things. I think they're pretty close. I think by the time the weather breaks and construction season's here, we'll see them out there working.
Okay.
I do say, like, we were going to have the first Wawa in Indiana. I'm telling you, folks, but we're way down the list now.
You can go check it out in
Brownsburg. It dragged out too long. So Brownsburg has one open.
Yes.
Yep.
And our senior housing project, it's a proposed project.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out.
We had a couple of interest, and one was moving along quite a bit, although we've not heard much out of them for a while. That doesn't really mean much. That's kind of how those projects happen. Sometimes they just pull the project, or sometimes they're just in their process and we don't hear from them for a while. So as far as we know, it's still moving along, but that would focus exclusively on seniors. And as we said, we know that there's been a big housing shift in our community, and seniors have gotten caught in the middle of that. And we understand that. So we'll do what we can to help support that project moving forward.
Okay. And working with Thrive and the county, we're working on a infill housing program for some smaller development projects.
Yeah, we are. I thought that would be out by now. We'd have some public stuff about that. We don't yet. But you should see something before too long. And that just creates an incentive process for smaller developers for smaller developments. If we're doing a large development, like, what happened with Arbor and Hawkview, we can capture the future increment, pay off a bond to help with infrastructure. But that doesn't really work on, like infill or 2 or 3 lots, 4 lots. So we have a mechanism in place that other communities have used that works very well, and we're going to help make some of those happen. We're already eyeing several areas in the city where this could happen, and we could get more housing and clean up, areas that just are underutilized right now.
Right.
So one of the things you have to think about as a city is not just pushing out like we're growing, but how do we redevelop areas in the city that were thriving areas at one time that now are not.
And our economic development activity, we are currently still just focusing on working expansions.
Yeah, we're not seeing a lot of leads come through. I mean, the leads we do see are these massive mammoth leads, huge electrical requirements, water requirements, and all kinds of bizarre things. So we're not seeing a lot happening right now. However, we're continuing to talk with our existing industry. We have one industry right now that's working on a potential significant expansion. So I think that has a good chance of going forward. And we're just talking to the others. We just started our first business retention visit of the year already. In January, we did one. I don't think we've ever did one in January. It was kind of an odd feeling, but again, it's just about having dialogue and working with those companies to help them grow here. And we've seen a lot of that. I mean, think of Penguin Random House. Pace Dairy, International Paper.
Yeah.
Go down the list. They've all invested here. CSI, huge, big investments, and that's what we're going to keep striving for.
Yes. And the Commerce Park construction is progressing.
Oh my gosh, drive through there. If you've not driven
Yeah.
through there, drive through there.
Ira Whiskey, Weaver Popcorn, and
We got to get a little sneak peek of
Sneak
Ira
peek.
Whiskey the other day. It's
So cool.
pretty cool.
yeah. And
That will bring a new event space to our community that is going to be phenomenal.
yeah, and I think it's more than what we had even imagined. I think we thought, like corporate meeting event space, this is going to be a full-on wedding venue
Yeah.
space for large scale 250 people events, and it's very, very neat.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll have something to say about that pretty soon.
Yes. And our Fairfield Inn, also out in the Commerce Park, looking to break ground soon.
Yeah, a lot of confusion. People think that's over on 231. It's back behind the
it.
Holiday Inn. They put up the silt fence. They started some work. I think they're working through some more things on their end, and then probably just the weather. But that project will be going pretty soon.
Yeah. We were moving along pretty nicely with warm weather for a while, and then we got hit with
Yeah, it looked like
a lot of cold.
You never know in the winter. Sometimes they can still do some construction, but I think everything's at a halt for right now.
Yes.
Yep.
And then continuing the theme with our Commerce Park, we've got our Crawfordsville Career Academy out there, the former Ivy Tech facility, and things are going well out there.
It's going well. Yeah, it's a work in progress. We keep combining as many things together under one roof. It's all about workforce today, and we have to do a better job of creating that pipeline. So, we have our career tech ed programs in there with our high school students. We got to listen to a presentation by some of them the other day, and I walked out of there thinking, okay, there's hope. Like these kids get it. Like these kids are they're going to do great things. So, so that's going on. We're trying, we have the Adult Resource Academy there. We have all those kind of things. So we're going to keep tweaking and adjusting. One of the things we're going to do, and we're behind, I wish we had it done now, is create like an oversight board and really let that be driven by business and industry to tell us how to program the building.
Yeah.
Our employers know what we need. They know what their employees need. And so what do we put in that building and how do we offer it? So we're well ahead of the curve there. Most communities are struggling with that issue and trying to figure out where they can do things. We have the bricks and mortar. We have the facility. We just had to figure out how to program it and staff it. And big news, as of a few weeks ago, it's paid off.
Yes, that's exciting.
That building is paid off.
That
we
is
just
exciting.
paid it off, and we paid off the Commerce Park bonds as well. So that's good.
Yes,
It's a good feeling.
it is. And, I know you've mentioned this before that you never thought it would happen. And now it's full.
Well, the Commerce Park in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I took office, like that was the big controversy. It was like this some big folly, and the city had wasted all this money, and it was never going to happen. And I still remember like every announcement we made, I'd always hear the same comment. Well, that's great, but what about the Commerce Park? Well, it took us a while to figure it out. And I say this all the time. I'll say it again. Like bringing Cheryl Morphew on board was a big piece of that because she came in and said, well, here's what you have wrong. Change this, do this, do that. And now fast forward, here we are. Commerce Park's full. Yeah. It's worked very well.
That's awesome.
And she wishes she had more.
And she wishes, she wishes we had more land because we just don't right now. But I do say, hats off to, at the time, Mayor John Zoomer and his team. They had the vision to take a gamble. It took a while to execute. It took a while to figure out how to make it happen. But now that we figured it out, it's done.
Yes.
that chapter is going to be closed here. And if you drive through there also, we talked about Ira Whiskey, but Weaver Popcorn.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Very cool stuff happening out there. And since our last general update, our Crawfordsville area public transportation is fully operational.
It is. Yeah. Reports are good. I think they're working through the transition. There's obviously you totally switch and you're doing things very differently. There's going to be some kinks in the system and some bugs to work out. But it sounds like it's off to a very good start. So that's great. We did a whole episode on it.
Yes.
Get all your questions answered there. But it's great to have that option in our community. And we're asked a lot, will it expand? Because it's just certain hours now. And the answer to that question is that's totally up to the public. If you're utilizing it and it needs to expand, it will expand. If it's not being utilized, then it probably will stay the way it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's all going to be community driven.
Yeah.
And, as a reminder, it's not a bus system where you stand at a stop and wait for it. It's call and schedule a ride,
Yeah.
but it's also not immediate rides like an Uber.
Yeah.
You have to kind of plan in advance. I think they're hoping for ideally 24 to 48 hours in advance if you know you need to be somewhere. But
Yeah,
there
you're
is
going to need that ride to work every day. You're going to
Yeah.
need that, certain times. Yeah, it'll work for you.
Yeah, if you've got a doctor's appointment is coming up, you can schedule those ahead of time. And there is some potential for same day rides, but it just kind of depends on what their schedule allows for.
Yep.
And Ready 2.0 with the Greater Lafayette region.
Yeah, we're moving forward. We hit our threshold in the region. So for Ready 1 spend, so we can start accessing Ready 2 funds. In Montgomery County, one project's already reached final approval, and that was assisting the county with funding for the water extension to new core towers and structures. So that is moving forward. As far as I know, the project's already built and done. It's just on the backside. So that is moving forward. And then for us, it's assisting with that infrastructure on the south side. And it's hurry up and wait, I think.
Yeah.
We think we have turned everything in. We think we're good. And then I'll get an email like, oh, they want this or they want that. So you get that back to them, and then you wait another month or two to get another answer. So there's like one final approval piece that we need. And there's like 10 total. There's like one more we need, and I'm waiting on that one. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Our EPA Brownfields Grant 2.0.
Yes, this is a grant opportunity that we've been talking about for a really long time, but I think it's kind of hard for people to understand. In the last month or so, you've probably seen a real example of what this grant opportunity can provide. We are using these funds to go to sites that could be potential brownfields. So we do some testing. If things come back and it looks like there are some issues or things are identified, then we can take care of those issues with these funds. So you've seen that at the former Trinity thrift shop. There were tanks underground identified there. And so they were able to go in and remove those tanks. A lot of people saw that and were kind of asking questions about that. So that was all because of this grant. We're able to use these funds and remove that. And then hopefully that means that all of those issues will be resolved and identified. And then we can move forward on that property and allow that property to kind of, if it needs to transfer or whatever may need to happen, that can happen without concerns of the environmental issues, which sometimes hang up things like that, a transfer in property or things like that. So that was a great use of those funds, and we're looking forward to using them in other ways around the community as well.
Okay.
Move some of those properties forward so they don't
Yes.
just sit there in limbo with being underutilized
Right.
because of the concerns.
Right. And though the weather does not feel like it currently, spring and summer will be coming soon enough, and people will want to know, what are we doing with the city pool?
Let's talk about the pool.
The
Yeah. Yeah. So I think everybody's aware we had a lot of trouble last year. The pool was built in, I think, 1966. It's seen better days, right? And so we did a feasibility study. What would it cost to upgrade it or to build a new pool? And those numbers are staggering. And so we've been trying to get by a few more years. We've known that our pool only had a few more years left in reality. But this last summer was kind of disastrous. Like,
Yes.
we couldn't, we had massive leaks, so we couldn't keep water in the pool. Then as you're replacing the water constantly, you can't keep the chemicals balanced, and then you can't open. And then it just one thing after another.
Tough season.
We were closed a lot. So we're trying to figure out, are there some repairs we can do to get us by a few more years while we figure out as a community what we're going to do about the pool? And it's easy to say, well, just build a new one. Well, that's going on your property taxes, okay?
Right.
And it's for something you're going to use 2 months a year. It's not an
Hard.
easy answer, right? So, and when I talk about expensive, we're talking very expensive, like, really expensive.
Really, really expensive.
Yeah, like over 10 million. Yeah. So anyway, so how can we do some repairs to get by? And we had a group come in and assess the pool and said, yes, you can do some repairs and buy you a few more years. I reported on here a while back that we thought we had that number around, what I say, 35,000. There were a list of things we could do. We thought, well, we'll do these couple things and it should get us there. We've since learned that, no, you have to do all of those things to get us there.
It's not an a la carte menu.
Yeah, we tried. So it's probably going to be about $250,000, $250,000 to fix it to get us by a few years. That's a tough decision, right? But
it's an expensive Band-Aid.
It's an expensive Band-Aid, but also, I don't know what other options are, because even if we said, okay, we're going to pull the trigger, we're going to try to move forward with building a new pool, that's not going to happen this year.
Right.
And so we know the pool is important to the community. So we're really leaning towards doing the repairs. The question is how you pay for that. I just talked about the financing for all the projects and infrastructure out south. We're looking at folding this into that as well. So not ideal.
Right.
But it's kind of the hand we've been dealt. As a community, we probably should have come to terms with this years ago. And it's just one of those things that it's there 2 months a year. And, we're focused on so many other things. We'll figure out the pool long term. But
so if you're listening and have a lot of money that you'd like to donate to
exactly.
pool,
Yeah.
you let us know.
Yeah, a lot of money. I do think, I will say, like those initial estimates on the cost of a new pool, I think we can get that down a little more reasonable.
Yeah.
But it is still going to be a major investment no matter what. So we're exploring the repairs. I think we're going to probably move forward with that if we can get that folded into this bonding for infrastructure on the south side. And you have to understand, like, we have to make decisions pretty soon because Park and Rec has to start hiring lifeguards for the season.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids are going to make decisions here in another month or two about what they're doing this summer. So you have to figure this out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Even though there's snow out there.
Yeah, it's cold now, but
we have to think about this.
Yes. And our city vehicle fleet, some will be transitioning to a leasing.
Yeah, we've explored this for a number of years. And what's traditionally happened is, let's say, vehicles in our fleet, whatever department they are, money's budgeted and they buy the vehicle. Either there's a system of bidding it to get the best price, or there's what we call a statewide bid. It's already been bid and they can buy off of that, a quantity purchase agreement. That's how we've typically done it. A lot of communities have gone to a leasing structure where they lease vehicles for a set amount of time. They turn it back in new vehicles, so they can control their cost at that point. And I know there's the whole debate, leasing versus buying. On the government side, you got to look at that a little differently than I think you have to in your personal situation. So, like I said, we've looked for years. We're going to try it on some of ours because some of our vehicles, it's just really tough. Police vehicles, for example, that's where we're starting.
Right.
That's a kind of a larger fleet and a lot of wear and tear and a lot of issues associated with that. So we've signed an agreement with Enterprise. It's already been bid through the state bidding system, so we didn't have to go through that elaborate process. We've talked to other cities and other counties that are doing it, and they're very happy with it. So we'll see what happens. We're going to give it a try. We're going to start with the police department, but you're probably going to see it in some of the others as well. Now, this at this time won't apply to the bigger stuff. So fire engines, some of that, line trucks, things like that. Not sure yet, but we may get there with those. We're actually looking right now. I never thought I'd see this. Looking at leasing ambulances. I never thought I would ever see that.
Yeah.
But we're looking at it because to buy a new ambulance right now is well over $500,000. Wow. That is mind-boggling. And it takes 2 or 3 years to get it. Yeah. I mean, we've had them ordered on 2 years. So that's why we've been keeping our trade-ins as an extra, because it's just, if an accident or something happens, it's 2 or 3 years to get one.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with the fleet stuff. The verdict's still out, but all of our colleagues elsewhere seem to give it a thumbs up. So we're going to give it a try.
Okay. Well, stay tuned. We'll keep you updated.
And it's all about fleet management and trying to control those costs, because our fleet costs can be pretty high.
Yeah.
So we want to try to get those, do as much as we can to control those and know what we're dealing with all the time.
Okay. And unfortunately, with early learning, the challenges continue.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a whole lot new to report. I think there's a few things that may be happening at the state level, but I'm not confident that we're going to see a major shift or improvement there. I do think it's important to note things have continued around the state, so it's not just a local issue. This is an issue all around the state. I think last November we were talking about how 150 or 160 centers had closed, and I think that number's up over 250, 260 now. It's still a huge problem. However, I do want to note that the city and the Community Foundation, the Early Learning Coalition, we're not just saying, well, that's unfortunate. We're continuing to look at this and try to see if there are ways that we can solve this. Continuing to look at, are there new ways to innovate? How can we address this issue? So we're not just accepting this. We are continuing to try to see how we can address these issues. And then we do have, years ago when we committed as a community to childcare, there was a lot of effort put in. The Community Foundation hired a coordinator for the county. We do still have her. She's pouring into our existing facilities, really trying to make sure that we keep them successful. They've received grant funding to offer free training for all of our existing programs. So we're still focusing on the programs that we have, keeping them really high quality, and continuing to look at ways that we can address this. But no great announcements on good news to solve that issue.
There's a couple of bills in the legislature, but they are, I'm not even sure I call them a Band-Aid. There's some minor steps to try to get some match funding, things like that. But really, really tough. And it, like Brandy said, major statewide issue. And I still don't think it's totally understood by the statewide media, so it's not getting a lot of attention. One of the major political talk shows, I saw a segment on there a couple weeks ago, and somebody who should know better said, I think this has probably affected up to a dozen centers statewide. And I'm thinking it's over 200.
Wow.
You have no concept what's really happening here. It's a massive issue.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough, but we, like Brandy said, we've solved these kind of things before in this community, so we're gonna keep trying to find ways to make it work here. But until things change at the state level, and I'm talking a major change, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah. And our youth council moving into the second semester and really focusing on letting the students lead.
Yeah, we haven't met yet this semester. They had taken January off, which is probably a good thing because it probably would have been canceled for weather anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they will be meeting again next month, and they're excited to kind of get up and going again and move forward working through the semester. And again, that's just been kind of a breath of fresh air working with those students and seeing the things that they're learning about their community and the excitement they have and what they're capable of. So that continues to be a bright spot.
Awesome.
We hear them present, and again, I'm like, oh yes, it's working. Like these kids get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the future is bright.
Awesome. Well, I think that is everything. Is there anything else comes to mind that we might have missed?
No, I'll just add, I talk about this internally some, but there's a lot of noise right now at the national level, the state level, a lot of divide, a lot of issues, and in this community, we do things different. Like we talk, we work through things, and we just have to stay focused here. Yes, we have to be aware of what's going on, but we have to stay focused here and not let those divisive things creep into what we're doing in this community.
Right.
We'll weather this storm, and we'll come out on the other side in strong position. We're going into it in a strong position. It's like all the budget stuff. We're going into it in a very strong position. Right. We'll weather it. There's going to be some belt tightening. There's going to be some issues, some challenges, but we just have to stay focused here. And I don't want to say tune out all that noise, but just keep it in perspective and stay focused on our community.
Awesome. Well, as always, if you have topics that you heard in this general update or other things you're hearing in the community that you want to know more about, please feel free to reach out and suggest a topic to us for a podcast. And we love to know what you want to hear about. And don't forget to check out Yodel, our Community Connections calendar and newsfeed, for all things happening in Crawfordsville in one easy, convenient location. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on this podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you aren't already, follow us on Facebook at City of Crawfordsville Official, on Twitter at City of Seaville, and on Instagram at City of Crawfordsville. We hope you have a wonderful day and can't wait for you to join us next week.